So, Mark, did you see that photo from Fremont Street in 1977? All of the old people that used to run the town there, all the casino owners and managers, but only one of them is still around on Fremont Street, Kenny Epstein over at El Cortez.
Yeah, I love how Steve Wynn looks like he's trying out for Miami Vice when everybody else is wearing suits. Cool to see that like Epstein got his start at Caesars. He was there on opening day. If he had just stayed there when he retired, he could have got a really nice light bulb, Sean.
Instead, he moved to El Cortez. Jackie Gahn sold him 5% of the company. And then later in 2009, he bought all of El Cortez. So he's been there forever. What a great story. But there's so many cool characters here. You see Ted Binion kind of turning his back and Steve Wynn always standing out. He looked so young back then.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, and so many names that are still there, which is weird for Vegas. We see, things getting torn down and taken over and all that, but, Fremont Street kind of stays the same, and El Cortez has had kind of like a revolution the last couple of years.
How do we end this segment in a funny way?
I had a really good joke, and I said it, but you won't air it.
Much car-related stuff going on this week, Mark. It was a crazy weekend in Las Vegas, but we love to sort of brand our construction projects, and it's no different. So the Pave-a-thon is coming to Las Vegas. You heard it right, the Pave-a-thon 2024, and this is going to involve full closures of I-15 as part of their repaving project. Phase 1, full closure, Warm Springs Road to Flamingo Road. That's going to happen July 26th through the 29th. And then Flamingo Road to Warm Springs Road will be August 2nd through the 5th. So this will cause all kinds of problems this summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's expected. We kind of knew all this stuff was coming, and it's probably going to get worse. I don't get the naming thing. I don't think anybody else does that anywhere. Such a unique Vegas thing. Do they think it will make people accept it better or think it's like cool or fun? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's a pave-a-thon. It's fun. I mean, it's just kind of spinning everything. Tropicana, obviously, another thing that they've used. I don't know. It just makes you feel like it's not going to be treacherous when they close the main freeway through the city for an entire weekend. So yeah, it makes you feel better.
Back roads, avoid it if you can. It's going to be horrible.
So from the Pave-a-thon to the Carpocalypse, Carmageddon, I don't know what happened this weekend on I-15 near Baker. There was a overturned truck that had electric batteries in them, 6 big ones, I guess industrial sized batteries that caught fire. Apparently, they're still burning to this day, but caused I-15 to be closed completely for a while, and then I-15 northbound into Las Vegas closed for days. It finally reopened on Sunday morning. And people were stuck out in the middle of the desert. All the hotels in Barstow filled up. They had to drop porta potties off. Thankfully, I don't think anybody was hurt. Nobody reported any serious injuries because it was hot there. People were running out of gas, out of food, stuck on the freeway for 14 hours. I-40 was basically the alternative route, and it was a parking lot. Hopefully, people who saw this just stayed home. I think also the Vegas casinos must have been emptier because nobody could get here.
Yeah, it's like my worst nightmare. There's nothing I hate more than getting stuck in traffic, especially when there's no hope in sight. Like, once you hear what's going on, you know that you're not going to be moving. You're kind of stuck. I'm surprised more didn't just drive across the desert, turn around and go the other way or something like that. Maybe quite a few did. But it's scary when it gets that hot. Like, if it was 70 out, okay, not a huge deal. But when you're out there baking in the sun, your car runs out, you don't have any air, you don't have anything to drink, it's a big problem. And, they got some stuff out there, and hopefully they got enough of it that everybody was taken care of. But it's scary. I just wish this happened like an hour and a half further into the drive so Prim could have got its chance to shine with all the hotels and everything, could have opened up the closed casinos, booked the rooms, all that stuff. But no, it's crazy.
Yeah, that would have been amazing for Prim for that to happen. This was a nutty thing, and these electric vehicle batteries, I drive an electric vehicle, love them, but the fact that this is still burning days later, they took out some heavy equipment to sort of move it, and they couldn't get it moved with that equipment. They had to bring in heavier equipment and then drive it deeper into the desert because it's putting out noxious gases and toxic chemicals and all kinds of stuff. Turn around, don't go. That would have been my suggestion, but I guess some people didn't know, but there were still people stuck there 2 days later. I mean, this is a nightmare of all nightmares to be stuck out in the middle of the desert.
I would have turned around and gone and partied in Rancho Cucamonga, had a good weekend there.
And by the way, Brightline, the executives at Brightline, they're sitting in their offices just loving all of this news, right? This is why we need a train. This is why we need a train. So good stuff for Brightline. Over to Palms, and they have a refer a friend promotion for their players club. I think last year we talked about Virgin and how they were doing a refer a friend, or Mohegan Sun was at Virgin. didn't work out too well for them as they're on their way out. But Palms is doing a similar thing, and you can get $15 in free slot play, and then your friend gets $10 in free slot play if you refer them. Again, we talked about this last year. Are you really like referring your friend, dragging them along to sign up for a player's card at a casino?
I mean, if it was better, I would consider it. Like at $15, even if it's like your spouse or significant other, and you bring them, it's $25 total. Like that's not worth the trip. If it was $25 each, I could see people doing it, maybe trying to get enough money to have a dinner or lunch or something like that. I think that would draw people in, and there's quite a few people that will end up gambling more than that, so that's like the math behind all these things. But $15 and 10, like, unless you're staying there already, what's the point?
So staying at the Palms, one lucky patron there lived the dream. A $3 bet on Wheel of Fortune, a $2.1 million jackpot. We love to see when these things happen. People love to see them. We'll start the debate about tipping now.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing to argue about. But no, it's crazy that you look at the screen and it's like, I think he has like under $1 left, or he or she, I forget who won, but under $1 left. So it's like their last spin. At least they could have put more money in, but it's more fun to think that this was like the last dollar they had to their name and they hit the $2 million.
I think Vital Vegas reported that they were waiting for pizza from the food court and put like $20 in the machine. So it's one of those situations where they weren't sitting down for a hardcore session. Crazy, good stuff. Speaking of tips, we had a lot of discussion in the comments about the $2 million poker winner and how much he should tip. I think at one point you said 50 to 100K. A lot of people didn't like the whole 100K thing. A lot of people obviously saying zero. Many people in the 5 to 10K range. So it's so interesting to hear the wide ranging opinions. And you guys had so many down in the comments in the last video.
Yeah, I think a lot of people said, 0.5% to 2% is kind of the going rate if you're going to tip. So that makes sense. I liked one person said 25K and then a K to each person, 1,000 at each person at the table, and they might have won the MV bonus, which a lot of people pointed out. Hopefully they bet that, so they got some money from that. It could be several $1,000s, I think. So that would be cool. I mean, I think that's fair. Other people said if the dealer sucked or was rude, don't tip. I could see that too. If they're not fun or they're just being kind of a curmudgeon, then maybe you don't tip. But it'd be funner to like, I guess they get to share them. But if they didn't share tips, walk to the table next to them and give them like the $10,000. How awesome would that be?
That's cruel. Very cruel, Mark. Don't, you're going to trigger more people. But thanks for the discussion. So many good comments, and we put some of them on the screen here. We love hearing from you. We'll try to bring more from the comment section for you guys. But tipping, man, you guys are all over the place on that one. So it's an interesting thing that it's just not accepted. Even though I think people who have been here forever accept the tipping stuff, there's still a lot of people who say no.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's not like restaurants where you kind of know what the deal is, somewhat expect 20%. With this, it's kind of like the Wild Wild West. You don't really know. I think some dealers said what they would expect or hope for, and it was in that 0.5% to 2% range, but maybe they lost a whole bunch before. At $2 million, it's hard to use that excuse. But if you're winning like a $30,000-$40,000 bonus, there's a good chance that they could have lost that already that year or earlier in that trip or all that. You don't know. So it's hard to judge anything.
As a reminder, we have our Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to our weekly after show. Comes out every Friday. Mark and I having a lot of fun. We talk a lot about behind the channel, our travels, our lives, lots of laughs. Patreon.com/MTM Vegas for all the information, and thanks to everybody who supports us over there. So I put this into the rundown at the last minute, Mark. It's just a huge check-in line at Caesar's Palace this last weekend. Hopefully none of those people were stuck in their car for 15 hours only to arrive at Caesar's to see this. The only reason I'm saying is that, people love to see these crazy videos. I have no idea why it was this weekend, other than they probably just didn't have enough staff.
Yeah, this is so frustrating. I think it's the thing I hate most that happens in Vegas on the regular is these lines that take people 2 to 3 hours to check in, that just want to enjoy their vacation. They might only be there for a night or two. A lot of people come to Vegas on Friday, leave on Sunday. And if you're spending a good chunk of your Friday night in line, it's annoying. And it's not like you don't know who's going to be checking in. You don't know how many rooms. These aren't walk-ups. It's not like Barstow, I get, where everybody's walking up last minute and there's a line out the door. I understand that. But for this, you know what's coming. They usually come around the same time. Like, get the people out there, get kiosks, do something. have a better app. I don't know. You can fix this, and I would pay any resort fee. Like, charge me $50, $75, whatever you want. Just make these lines go away. Like, that bothers me more than any fee they tack on.
It really is the worst thing to arrive at a hotel and have to wait an hour, hour and a half in a line. It just really sucks all the joy out of it. And it's one of the downsides of staying in Vegas. If you don't have status or whatever with these 4,000 or 5,000 room hotels, they just don't have the staffing. And yeah, they're moving to the kiosks, and maybe that's part of it, and people don't know how to use them. Who knows what causes all of this? We have seen this happen more at Caesars properties than elsewhere. But Caesars Palace, sort of their flagship here, like that's their best one. Beautiful lobby. You shouldn't have to wait that long. I mean, we're just going to keep seeing this. Nobody cares.
Yeah, they don't really do anything, and nobody, I guess people still book it, so what does it matter? That's why I like doing like the Nobu Hotel, Nomad, stuff like that, where they have their own separate little check-in, and you get away from those lines. Those type of things will get you out of the common area with these huge long lines.
I feel like we've been too negative. We had such a lighthearted show last show, so let's, on this next story, let's be awfully positive. Bally's is merging. This is a wild company, but here is how the merger is going to work. Soo Kim is their chairman, and we talk about him, and we've shown interviews of him and stuff. He also basically owns a hedge fund called Standard General LP, and they are buying Bally's, so basically taking the company private. This all reminds me of like Sears back in the day. I don't know, but he says they have big plans. They also own a regional gaming operator that's going to merge with Bally's as part of this. But basically, Bally's going private with the current management taking them in that direction, and who knows what happens to the company from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually been to one of the casinos of the other local company, the one in East St. Louis, Illinois, across the river from St. Louis, and it was a strange experience. Played a little blackjack, won, had cashed out at $500 and got the purple chip and went to the cage, and they like sounded the alarm. Like they were like, "Where'd you get this? Where'd this come from? Let me call that table. Like, let me verify that." I'm like, "It's $500. What are we freaking out about over here?" So that was kind of funny. That's my one experience with them. Something a little bit different, but hopefully this brings, about solvency, brings some more money into it, and they are flush with cash, and they can build what they need to build on that site, on the Tropicana site, and everything goes forward. And we knew that they were having issues or in trouble a little bit, so hopefully this kind of smooths all that out.
From a naysayer's perspective, you can say, oh, they didn't have money and they got in over their heads in Chicago and in Vegas and everything. But from the other side, you can say, well, he's solving these issues. They got the deal done in Chicago, offloaded a couple of casino land to pay for it. Now he's merging his gaming companies and bringing everything private. And so maybe he is doing the steps that he needs to bring this company to the international sort of main player gaming market that he wants. So, I guess we got to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one and see how it all shakes out. Doesn't really change anything we've discussed on previous shows about Bally's building a hotel here. This is such an interesting company, as I say every time we talk about them. I mean, at least they keep it interesting in this space.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we all wish we had a hedge fund that we ran that could cover up our mistakes by buying us out.
Exactly. See, way to keep it positive. I mean,
see?
Exactly what we needed to do. Brought it home at the end. So this next one is interesting. I don't know what the sourcing is on this. I saw this on X, and it's parlay hold percentage. It goes through all of the major online sports books. FanDuel and DraftKings at over 9%, and then BetMGM Caesars around 4%, and then the others at 5 or 6%. And basically the assertion was that there's so many parlay bets on those services, FanDuel and DraftKings, that's driving their margins up tremendously. I mean, don't bet parlays, I suppose, is the lesson here.
Yeah, parlays are definitely a bad bet. Everybody loves to do them, let me do this $10, $20 parlay that could pay out 5, 10. We've even seen like up to like $60,000 that people do with these long, 12, 13 leg parlay type things. And then you always see the one, they promote it when the one hits, or the guy's watching the game, he's hit 11 out of 12 and he just needs this 12th one to go, and everybody cheers him on. And they do that for a reason, because these are big time profit makers for them, and these are big house advantages. So even like a 2-leg parlay is slanted towards the house way more than a straight bet. These percentages of what they're making shows, because it would never skew that high up to 9% if it wasn't for a big amount of parlays. But the shady thing is some of them will, kind of hold down your betting or limit what you can do. People have said, hey, once I make like a parlay bet, they open up my limits and I can make bigger bets on straight bets. And so they're kind of like forcing it, which seems wrong and shady.
It's so interesting, though, to see that they're over double the margin from Caesars and BetMGM. So why are they not doing these parlays in the same way? Is it just more of the ecosystem on DraftKings and FanDuel on those apps, or are they just that's the kind of customers they get, or why would it be so different? Why don't they have those bets on Caesars and MGM?
I wonder if, like DraftKings and FanDuel started as non-gambling platforms. They started as sports platforms, for picking teams of golfers for Masters and stuff like that. Like, it was fantasy sports and you could win money doing that. And that's kind of like a long shot type of thing. You go into a pool with 1,000 people, and if you finish at the top, you get a big prize. So parlay is kind of the same type of mentality. So I wonder if that just the people that use those platforms did it because they did the sports stuff before and they want that same kind of rush, the same kind of long odds. That would be my guess, where MGM is going to be more traditional gamblers and people that have done this, in casinos and stuff. And maybe DraftKings and FanDuel isn't so much that.
Interesting stuff. If you have more insights on this, hit us up in the comments. I know this world is so big now and everybody is into it and everybody loves to talk about their favorite players, so let us know down there. Let's finish with the Paris, and starting with Cronuts, the pizza place at Paris that I don't even remember the name of, that was closed a lot of the time over there in the walkway, has now closed, and it's going to be turning into Dominique Ansel, some sort of a pastry shop. He's the guy who created the Cronut back in 2013, and he does have a shop over at Caesars Palace, so this will be his second location, another Caesars copy-paste.
To a point, I get it. Like, if something's working, why not use it somewhere else too? They just take it to like the uppermost levels of this and copy paste all over the place. But I didn't know Cronuts was still a thing, or maybe that's just what we know him from, and that's why it's mentioned. But remember how big they were in like 2013, 2014, then you never heard about them again. So hopefully they have other things besides just Cronuts.
Cronuts are great, and they're still a big thing, Mark. The thing is that other people have them, so they're not as special. Like, he invented it. And then, I mean, Pink Box has Cronuts. Every donut shop, I think, has Cronuts these days, and they're good things. But he's known for all of his desserts, I understand. I haven't actually eaten at his stuff, but well regarded. And the other Paris story was the Versailles balcony rooms have now opened, and Carrie Balicki was there, and she gave us these great views. And I guess I'll start with this, Mark. Is this now the best view of the Bellagio fountains?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if depending on which room you get, for sure, because you have to be on the right side of it, and you want to be up higher and everything. But if you get similar to what she has, I think it's the best view of the fountains. And you can sit out there, bring your bottle up of wine or beer or whatever you want to drink, and sit out there and enjoy them at night and not be in the crowds and everything. I think it's pretty awesome.
It really is. I mean, the prices she was showing, that you could have booked these a little while ago for a couple $100s a night midweek, and now they're up to $500-600. I'm sure that that'll probably even out over time. There's a lot of people who want to try these, but when you see these pictures and the views that she's showing, this is incredible. Just obviously the height's going to matter where you are in the tower. Mark said on the left or the right side. So your views are going to vary a little bit, but if you get these views, this is spectacular. And I can see a lot of people paying up for this, and I can totally understand why they did this. We kind of joked about it at the beginning, and it was a hard time to sort of figure this out. It's been a weird thing with people having to check in at Horseshoe or the connector not being done, which we can show you an update on that. It looks like it's almost finished now. But did the bean counter who figured this out, does he get a prize for moving this tower from Horseshoe to Paris?
I mean, if they just opened up the balconies, I think it would have been good for Horseshoe too. I don't know that they would have had to charge that much less or anything like that. I think just giving people the option there, maybe Paris is a little bit better name. I think it's just good. Whoever decided to open up the balconies deserves credit for that. And I think it will be good. And it might be able to bring some gamblers in. That could be something that they offer up and say, hey, do you want to stay in our room with a great view of the balconies? Come stay at this property and gamble. Maybe they can steal some from MGM or other places. I don't know. Or just hold on to what they do have.
I've seen the fountains from just about every hotel room view. Cromwell I really love because it is unique. It's maybe the only thing, although it's at the end of the room, so you can't really even see out of the window unless you just stand by the window, which makes no sense. Bellagio, obviously those traditional views from the back. You have Vdara and Cosmo and Planet Hollywood. This is the best. There's just nothing that gives you that. This is straight on, right looking at it, over the top. Yeah, I want to go stay in one of these rooms. I wish I'd booked it, and now $600, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, how much better would it be if the trees were still there, though?
Exactly. So let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about today. The views from those rooms, all of the car nonsense, the Pave-a-thon. Hit us up in the comments. Do you still eat cronuts? Let us know down there. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.